see you move.
Love never felt so good. Can't die, they never could. Not like you. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. You know, Americans are reminded every day that violence can happen anywhere at any time. Recently, 2 journalists were killed in Virginia while reporting on air. Well, there's no doubt that new security measures will become a major focus for WDBJ, that's the news station in Virginia. But what about security measures for City Hall employees in the city of Weaver? You see, it's been well over a year now since City Hall employees there were confronted by a man armed with a pistol demanding to see the mayor. Weaver's Mayor Wayne Willis comes aboard to Local Matters to talk about that particular incident and where the city is today in its state of affairs. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. Never felt so good to have joining me on the set of Local Matters this morning is the mayor of Weaver, Alabama, Mayor Wayne Willis. It never felt so good to have him aboard. So welcome.
Great, thanks for having me.
You know, Wayne, I understand, Mayor Wayne Willis, I understand that the city of Weaver is in a pretty good state right about now, so that's good news. But before we talk about some good news, I do want to go back to, if you would take us back to June 2014, so just a little bit over a year ago. And the reason why is recently 2 journalists were on air, and I believe I have their pictures. I want to bring them up because I want people and our viewers to understand these people were real people who worked in the same field that I work in every day. They were shot and killed while on air, you know. And so the reason why I wanted to start off the show, because I know you're doing great things in Weaver, but I thought about you, Mayor Willis, when this happened to those folks that were there doing their jobs innocently, minding their business, hurting nobody, and lost their life. And just about a year ago, something very similar happened to city employees in Weaver, Alabama. Take us back to June 2014, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mayor Willis.
And this is an important issue because by trade I'm the mayor now, but before that I was an Anniston police officer. I retired with 26 years in the Anniston Police Department, so I understand workplace violence and how things progress. One of the things about workplace violence is I think we all are under the mindset that it would never happen to us.
Exactly.
And we always think, oh, it's going to happen somewhere else. But
Exactly.
It actually came to Weaver, Alabama, which is someplace that we never would have expected.
Exactly.
It's a small town,
Yeah.
family. Gentleman came into City Hall and he asked for me, and I was not there. And then he
So good. I guess that was a blessing in itself that you were not there.
Either way,
Either
I
way.
don't know. I mean, I don't worry for my own safety, but I do worry about my employees.
Right.
So that was a concern for me. I feel like I can take care of myself.
Okay.
But I do worry about my employees.
Right.
He became agitated when I wasn't there, and all the doors are locked, so he would have to be buzzed in to actually get into the City Hall.
Okay.
He was just in the lobby. And he became more and more agitated, demanding to see me, and became very belligerent. Then he produced a weapon, which was a real 9mm handgun.
Wow.
And again, demanded to see me, and they explained to him I was not there. And he said that he would be back, that he was there to arrest me. And when they asked why, he said because it's illegal to be a part-time mayor in Alabama, which is not true. There's no validity in that.
Right.
But yeah, he was there to arrest me. So the employees handled it very well. They diffused the situation, and he eventually left. He had pulled up to the curb in front of the building.
Okay.
And through great police work from the Weaver Police Department, we looked at the video, and they were able to track down who he was. Because the first call was to me to say, hey, there's some guy saying he's here to arrest you. And at that time, it was the jail and bail was going on for the fundraising.
Right.
And I thought it might have been somebody there as a charity thing.
Right, playing a joke or
playing
something.
a joke,
Yeah.
and then I thought it might have been one of my former police buddies clowning.
Right, right.
Because, you know, I have people that clown around all the time like that. So I thought it was just a joke. But when we looked at the video, I told the chief, I said, I don't know that person. So that's when we realized that it was legitimate. So they were able to track him down, and he did have a criminal history with the city of Weaver, and it was similar type situations. He was imposing an authority that he did not have.
Right.
So when they actually did track him down to his house and was able to apprehend him, they asked what was he going to do with me, and he said he was there to arrest me under the authority of the FBI. And they said, well, what are you going to do with him? And he said, well, I can't tell you that. And then later on, they said, well, what would you have done if he had not come with you? He said, well, I would have done whatever it took to take him in. So that led me to believe that he intended to shoot me if he had to.
Wow.
So it could have been a potentially hazardous situation.
It really could have been. And see, what stopped him was that you mentioned that he had to buzz in order to get into the building?
Yes, when you walk into Weaver's water department, you can get into the lobby and you can go to the area where you pay water bills, but you can't actually get into the city hall. You would have to be buzzed in by the clerk.
Okay.
So he could not get in. But it was also a wake-up call for us. We realized that...
And that's what I was getting ready to ask you. So now, because that happened,
Yes.
that obviously was a wake-up call. What measures have you put in place since then?
Sure. Now, obviously, I'm not going to give you all the safety
Yes,
measures
because
in
right,
place.
because then someone could be listening and
Exactly.
say, "Ooh, okay, now I know how to circumvent that."
Exactly.
Right.
But just the obvious things. For example, we had a very low counter in the water department, and it'll be very easy for someone to jump over that counter and get into City Hall. So we completed that wall from floor to ceiling with a glass that's tamper resistant. So you can't actually just get into the water department now. So we solved it there. We gave all of our employees communications to where no one is isolated. Everyone has a means to directly contact the police department if necessary, and it's an immediate response, so that helps. And just things along those same lines: communication, securing open areas, making sure doors that did not need to be left open were locked and stayed locked, and that's helped a great deal for us.
Okay, and I think, and from what you were sharing with us, I think another thing that really seemed to help is that everyone remained calm and no one wanted to agitate him even more, because from what I understand, he had some mental challenges going on. And that's another thing. When we're out and about talking with people, especially those who work in customer service, you really don't know what state of mind a person is in. So we have to be cognizant of that.
Right.
As
That's one area as a society that I think we've really dropped the ball. When you have emotionally disturbed people that are out there among all of us, and we don't know who they are, and they're not being treated, they're not taking their medications. It's a common story on the news where they talk about a person that did a workplace shooting, and they always say he seemed a little odd.
Yeah.
Well, we need to have some plans in place to address those people that need help, instead of just kind of turning our back and waiting for that to happen and then put them in jail. Jail does not fix mental illness.
And you know all too well, because as you mentioned, you had 26 years with the Anniston Police Department. And that's another show. I'm sure that I will be able to have fun and talk with someone about addressing those matters. But when we come back, we are going to be talking more with what's going on with the city of Weaver on the good side now. So we will be right back after this break. Don't go away. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Local Matters. We're living local. Well, it never felt so good. Never felt so good to have joining me on the set of Local Matters this morning, the Mayor of Weaver, Wayne Willis. And before we went to break, Wayne and I, we were talking about an incident that happened in 2014, just a little bit over a year ago, where a man sort of casually walks into City Hall with a gun, demanding to see you. You weren't there. But the city employees were able to they handled it pretty well, according to you, and no one was fatally shot, no one was harmed at all, and he was captured. So good news and kudos for that entire situation. In fact, for the fact that it turned and it was able to just sort of just almost as if it never happened. But the whole point is we know it happened, and you were able to take you've got more preventative measures in place. So good news there. Also in 2012, I want to go back there, the city of Weaver was kind of struggling then.
Yeah, that's like saying that Titanic had a small leak. It was pretty bad when I first took office.
And it reminded me of that. You took office as the mayor of Weaver in, was it 2012?
Yes, well, that was my second time.
Your second time.
I was mayor from 04 to 08, but at the time I was working the rape, robbery, homicide cases for the city of Anniston, so trying to juggle two full-time jobs, that much stress, I couldn't do it. Right. So I gave it up, and then when I retired, I ran for office again.
Okay.
But I didn't realize how bad the city was financially. When I took office in 2012, the city was more or less on a cash-only basis. We couldn't take anything to the landfill because we owed back payment for dumping.
That's pretty bad when you can't even take things to be dumped.
It was awful, and there were some places that were 90 days past due.
Wow.
So financially, the city was in bad shape. and I didn't realize it was quite that bad. But I'm not one to back down from a challenge.
No, not being a city Anniston City Police for 26 years, I would imagine you're not.
And I'm fortunate that I have a fantastic council that works with me on everything. And we disagree at times, but we always disagree on what's the best interest for the city.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, we all come to an agreement and we leave as friends. So I'm lucky that I have a good council that can work with me on it. But the first thing we had to do is, and my approach to government is you run it like you run your house.
Yes.
You know, if you got the power bill coming in, you don't go out and buy a big screen television.
Wow.
So
some people do.
Some people might. Some people might.
Some people do. You know, they know they got to pay rent, but there they are shopping and buying, getting handbags and hair done.
Right.
Yeah, some people do.
So just to try to get our finances in order was the first priority.
Yes.
And we've done a great job of cutting expenses as much as we possibly can and still provide quality service for our residents. But in addition to that, we've generated some revenue with new businesses, and that's been a big help.
Now that is huge.
Yes, when you bring in a brand new business that's a ground up construction, that's a huge boost for your city.
Okay.
And we were fortunate enough that we had 5. So five new businesses that came into Weaver, and they were all substantial businesses.
Okay.
So that generates revenue. Every time they sell, we get tax dollars. So that's a great incentive. And we try to be as accommodating as we can to bring in new business. I want to make it easier for a new business to open versus make it difficult. So that's been a big help.
And so this is for viewers, anyone listening, this is an opportunity that Wayne Willis is saying he's looking for people who want to go into business.
Yes, absolutely. Weaver's open for business. So we've had some good things in terms of revenue. One area where we had a difficult time is when I started, our public works department didn't even have a dump truck. Now, how can you run a street department without a dump truck?
Without a dump truck.
We didn't have anything. The guys were using shovels and wheelbarrows.
Wow.
It was awful. So I gave the council a sales pitch on getting a loan for $500,000. And what we did is we earmarked that money specifically for buying equipment, fixing roads. We had road projects that had been on the books for 25 years and just not had anything done. So we got those roads done. So the theory in the equipment is I bought new equipment, and what we'll do is every 3 or 4 to 5 years, we'll trade it in on newer equipment. Because to try to budget $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year to buy a dump truck is difficult.
Right.
But if we buy a brand new truck and I can swap it out while it still has value, then we're moving ahead. So that's the plan. We got new equipment coming in. We're going to rotate it out. Fixing roads. Roads is always a problem, especially in Weaver. We've been so long without fixing roads. And we're making progress. We've repaved 2 major streets, and we have another major project right through the middle of Weaver that should be sometime April, May. That's going to include sidewalk improvements, drainage improvements. We're also repaving the Chief Ladiga Trail, which is a big draw for Weaver because everyone's riding bikes now and walking, and
that's right.
They take advantage of our trail.
That's right.
So by repaving that and adding signage, as bicyclists come through Weaver, they can also stop at a convenience store, the Dollar General, the grocery store to get a snack or a drink. So it's all, you got to start thinking not necessarily outside the box, but realize there is no box. And there is no limits to what we can do if we'll just apply ourselves and push, and that's what we've been doing.
And see, and you mentioned, I like that too, that not only do you have to think outside of the box, but you also have to be a visionary person.
Yes.
Okay, you want to think about where are we going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years from now.
You have to have an end game.
You have to prepare.
And you can't just piecemeal and throw things in place and hope they all fit together. You have to have a plan and follow that plan.
Okay, so you mentioned that you were able to get a grant to do this work.
We didn't do a grant, we did a loan.
You did a loan?
Yes.
Are you looking at maybe perhaps going down that direction as well, maybe even working to get some grants and things like that?
Grants are fine. The problem is when you deal with federal money, there's matching funds. There's always matching funds. And the grants have so many requirements that come with them. A lot of times the cost is more than if we just did it ourselves.
Okay.
For example, we are building a community center. We've got a 4,000 square foot community center.
Yes, I saw that.
Beautiful building. I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
But if we'd have gotten a grant to build that, the cost would have been somewhere between $700,000 to $800,000.
Yes.
We're able to build it ourselves for under $3.
Okay.
So the matching funds on that amount would have been close, and we can do it a lot faster.
Sounds like you know your stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk more about that exciting facility that's going up in Weaver. I also want to talk about this new thing. You guys are right following up on the heels of Anniston. This is something new that you guys got coming up. So we're going to talk about that when we come right back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Glad you could join us. We are here on the set of Local Matters, and joining me today is the mayor of Weaver, Wayne Willis. And we've been talking about all of the great work that has been taking place in the city of Weaver. He shared with us just a few moments ago, before we went to break, that the city was in a pretty terrible fix back in 2012. But he was able to work with the city council there, and they've got their stuff together now, seems like, in the city of Weaver. You mentioned a brand new complex that's going to be coming up very soon in terms of it's in the process of being built right now.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Is it senior citizen /
Community center.
Community center?
Basically, the seniors have been meeting in a house that was moved to the park in 1947. So it's a dilapidated building, and it really was falling in. And the seniors deserve something better. So we're building a brand new building which will serve as a community center for youth football and baseball and people who want to have a wedding reception or whatever.
Wow.
But in addition, it's going to have an area that's geared just for our seniors.
Okay.
And it's one of only a few that's in this area that has a full-service senior center.
Okay.
We serve meals. We also serve meals to shut-in seniors. So they do activities. They have a great time. And it's supposed to be limited to Weaver, but we're not going to turn anybody away. We have people from other areas that come.
That's huge that that you're going to have something like that for seniors and for anybody, as you mentioned, that may want to have something there. Also, something that's new that's taking place. Right, you're right on the heels of Anniston that have their quarterly magazine that's coming out. But I'm going to have Jason, if you don't mind, Jason, to zoom in on this coming in for the city of Weaver. This is something that they are going to be able to look forward to reading. Now it's called Off the Trail.
Yes.
So this is a brand new, is it a quarterly magazine, Mayor Willis, or is it just a periodical magazine where you're not really held to a time frame?
Right. We don't have a set schedule to release that. We discussed it as a council, and generally citizens of a municipality like Weaver, as long as their garbage is picked up and the water comes on when they flip the lever, they really don't know what's going on in the city. So we felt like we needed to keep them informed of the projects we've done and the projects we have going on, and just basically let our citizens know what's going on at City Hall. So
and it's good, and I don't mean to cut you off, but it's good that you are doing this, because it's not just Weaver City. A lot of people live in their cities and they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And they rely on Facebook and rumor and gossip.
Right.
If you don't share something with your city, with your citizens,
right,
that's what they will have to rely on: rumor, gossip, Facebook, whatever. So I'm glad to see something like this.
Right. And I wish I could take credit for that. I did steal the idea from Anniston, but I'm not above admitting.
All right, you guys
that.
hear that? Anniston, see, you're setting something. That's good, though.
I'm not above stealing someone else's idea.
That's
if it
okay.
works.
When something's good and you're doing a great job, people sit back, and what you do, you're not stealing. You have been inspired by the city of Anniston.
Inspiration.
That's right. To say, well, hey, let me pick up on that and let me see what I can do for my residents.
Right.
So good deal. Kudos for you for doing that.
Thank you.
What's in this actual Off the Trail here?
Well, we tried to be all-inclusive, but you can only put so much in 8 pages.
Right.
But what we did was we wanted a contact and a face for council members, where if somebody has an issue, they know a council member by face and name, and has an email address and a phone number where they can contact council members or me. Also department heads. If you have an issue with the water department or roads, you can go and know that this is the public works director and this is the person I ask for when I call. So informational, it was good in terms of it let people know who the contacts are and who they need to be in touch with if there's a problem.
Right.
And it's just more or less just information of projects we have going on. And I wish we could do it every month.
Right.
Financially, I don't know that it's feasible to do that, but we're going to do it as often as we can.
Well, I think that you're doing it. I think that that's a great idea, not to maybe set a time limit, because it is costly. And I understand that Commissioner J.D. Hess has sort of kind of helped in and pitched in some there. Talk about that.
Yes, well, that's another area that the city was really struggling. It had burned bridges with all the other communities because this personalities got involved and there was friction. Fortunately, I'm friends with J.D. Hess, the commissioner, and other commissioners as well. But it's good to have a good working relationship where if I need something, I can call J.D. or I can call Johnny Smith in Jacksonville or Vaughn in Anniston, and we can sit down and say, hey, can you help me with this, or what can I help you? And having that good partnership is what's making this area flourish now,
That's
which
right.
is good. We're moving forward because government is working together.
And that's what it takes. That is exactly
Absolutely.
what it takes. And there are some other things that I wanted to talk about. Wayne, let me just go inside it because I was looking at some of the wonderful people that actually they actually advertise inside. So it looks like you're working with quite a. Are all of these new advertisement? Are these new businesses or not?
No, they're existing businesses, and if you look at the back page, what I've done is I put a list of every business that's licensed to operate in Weaver. So
see.
if a citizen needs a plumber, they can go on that sheet and look for the plumber and see the businesses that are licensed in Weaver. So that's good to have that information in your residents' hands.
It is.
So that helps. The businesses they're just area businesses licensed to operate in Weaver, and they advertising help defer the cost for the city.
Good deal. And I'm going to make one more note about that, even though it might seem a little bit to some elementary to say, well, he's got that on the back of there, because so many people, young people, really do rely a lot on, on the computers, but you still have a lot of citizens. And I am one sometimes, I'm at the computer all the time. And I'm, I can get around and find my way around quite well on the internet. But a lot of times the internet can be quite overwhelming. You're looking for a specific business, and it will take you everywhere, and pop-ups happen. So having something like this for the Weaver residents to be able to look and see who can I call here right in my own city.
And we have some older citizens don't even have a computer. So
that's exactly right.
I know we're in a computer age, but not everybody is on board.
That's right. But everybody is on board with us here at Local Matters, and so I want to thank you for continuing to keep watching the show, and I want to thank you, Mayor Wayne Willis, for coming. Too many W's for coming aboard Local Matters.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be right back. Well, we won't, because this is it. We'll see you back next week. Have a good night, everybody. Bye now.
So good. Felt so good. Felt so good. Felt so good.